The powder, the priest, and the living dead, unmasking the true Haitian Zonbi. 1. The shadow of the soul. Listen closely, for this is a tale not of make-believe, but of the deep shadows that fall across the human heart. When you hear the word, zombie, your mind may show you a spectacle, a creature of fiction, easily defeated. But the story born in these ancient lands, the story of the zombie, holds a terror that reaches far beyond the grave. The zombie is not a monster. It is a victim, a soul stolen, a life force bound to a body that is no longer its own master. The fear is not of being eaten, but of never truly dying, of being condemned to a waking, silent eternity of servitude. To understand this curse, one must understand what makes us human in these traditions. They say the spirit of every person is made of two great parts. There is the pure life force, the breath and heat that connect us to the great source of all creation. And then there is the truly precious part, the individual soul, the essence of your being, your memories, your laughter, your choices, your very will. When a person is turned into a zombie, the body remains animated by that pure life force, but it is stripped of that precious will. The sorcerer who dares to perform this final violation is known as the Bokor. And the Bokor's power depends on striking where it hurts the most, the soul's freedom. 2. The price of pride. Our tale begins with a man named Jean. Jean was a good man, a farmer who knew the soil and respected the seasons. He was proud of the harvest he brought in and the provision he gave to his family in their quiet village compound. But his pride, like a tall tree in a storm, exposed him to danger. In the shadows of that village lived a wicked man named Guide Zafra. Guide Zafra was a Bokor, a sorcerer who did not work for healing or light. He dealt only in malice and greed. He was a man who demanded tribute, knowing that fear was his currency. Jean refused to pay. He stood before others and named Guide Zafra for what he was, a thief dressed in shadows. This public challenge was an intolerable offense. The Bokor could not allow such defiance to stand, for it would poison the fear that was his power. The Bokor did not want Jean's quick death. He wanted his slow, silent, endless labor. He wanted the farmer to become a tireless, unpaid worker, and a chilling warning to anyone else who thought to challenge him. Guide Zafra retreated to his hidden sanctuary and began the painstaking, evil work of preparing the death powder. This preparation is not quick. It is a meticulous crime. The Bokor gathered the materials, the chilling poisons drawn from the most fearsome fish in the deep, strong enough to mimic death itself. He blended it with other strange ingredients, herbs that cloud the mind, and, they say, dust taken from the ground where a true victim of the curse had once fallen. For several nights, the Bokor tended his dark mixture. He chanted the names of the dark spirits. He focused his hatred, ensuring the dose was perfect, just enough to stop the heart's true rhythm, but not enough to let the life force depart entirely. The powder was finally ready, dark, fine, and without smell. Guide Zafra had only to wait for the moment of opportunity. 3. The unseen burial. That moment came swiftly. The Bokor managed to slip the powder into Jean's meal. The terror Jean felt was overwhelming. One moment he was sharing food, the next he felt a crushing weakness. His body grew heavy. He tried to cry out a warning to his wife, but the muscles of his mouth were already locked. He slumped down, his eyes wide, watching the world spin away. The poison was doing its cruel work. Jean's breathing slowed until it was the lightest flutter. His pulse became so faint that even a skilled hand could not find it. To everyone who rushed to his side, Jean was gone. He was pronounced dead, a tragic casualty of a sudden, mysterious illness. And because of the swift heat of the land, burial could not wait. The family mourned, weeping for their sudden, terrible loss. Jean was dressed in his burial clothes and placed in a simple wooden coffin. The final sound he heard was the dull thud of the lid sealing shut, followed by the faint sound of dirt raining down. He was in total darkness, utterly paralyzed, yet fully conscious. The poison had locked his body, but his mind remained awake, a horrified prisoner of the flesh. But in the pitch black of night, while the family slept in exhaustion from grief, the Bokor was already at the gravesite. The sorcerer knew he raced against true death. He had to retrieve the body while the life force was still lingering, before the spirit had truly departed. He worked quickly, digging into the fresh grave until he reached the coffin. When he pried the lid open, Jean's paralyzed eyes stared up into the Bokor's face, eyes that begged for rescue, yet could communicate nothing. The Bokor dragged the body out, closed the grave, and carried Jean to his hidden sanctuary for the terrible final ritual. The public funeral had been a necessary step, a cruel theatrical show to remove Jean from the world of the living. 4. The silent prison. In the Bokor's dwelling, the final act of degradation began. The sorcerer administered the antidote, a second powder, one that often brought a mind-bending, hallucinatory restoration. This dose did two things. It countered the paralysis, allowing the body to move again, and it violently ripped the individual soul, Jean's will, from its seat of power. Jean's eyelids fluttered open, his muscles twitched, then obeyed the command of his nervous system again. He was breathing, walking, alive. But when the Bokor gave his first, quiet command, "Go to the south field," Jean's legs moved, his body obeyed, mechanically, without any input from the terrified consciousness trapped within. His soul, his memories of his wife and children, his burning anger, it was all there, huddled in a dark corner of his skull, a prisoner behind bars of bone. Imagine the horror. You can see the sun rise. You can feel the burning blister on your heel. You can hear the sounds of the sorcerer's whip. Yet you cannot move, you cannot cry, and you cannot disobey. You are forced to witness your own body being used as a tool, walking, working, lifting, endlessly, while the real you screams in silent agony inside. Jean, the proud, free farmer, was now a nameless laborer in a secret field, working alongside other Zonbi, their faces blank, their movements dull. They were driven mercilessly, needing only the bare minimum to sustain the pure life force that remained. Jean was nothing but a hoe in the hand of the wicked man who had cursed him. 5. The taste of freedom. Yet, in the deepest darkness of the legend, there is one small candle of hope, one spiritual anchor that can restore the prisoner's mind: salt. In these traditions, salt is sacred, a symbol of life, memory, and spiritual freedom. The Bokor is meticulously careful to ensure his Zonbi never, ever consumes anything seasoned with salt. Should a Zonbi, by accident or the secret work of a loved one, taste salt, the spiritual anchor is reconnected. The will floods back. The terrifying shock of having been dead, buried, and enslaved washes over them in a single, agonizing flash of memory. When Jean tasted the salt, he would suddenly recall the sound of the coffin lid. He would feel the weight of the dirt on his chest. He would remember his wife's face and the years of silent toil. The curse would be broken. But freedom is brief. The folklore says that once awakened, the Zonbi is unable to reconcile the trauma of their experience. The shame and horror of their capture, their forced labor, and their escape from the grave is too great to bear. The Zonbi does not stay to fight the Bokor. The awakened spirit simply turns, runs away from the world of the living, and flees back to the empty, forgotten grave from which they were pulled. There, they return to the earth, finally allowing their soul to pass on and find true rest. The tale of the Zonbi, the farmer who lost his will, is a chilling reminder of the darkest fears of servitude and the terrible price of human greed. This is a story that should stay with you for a long, long time. What part of Jean's ordeal, the terror of the silent burial, or the agonizing reality of being aware but unable to act, do you find the most chilling? Let me know, and we can start looking at the next great story. Haiti Folktale.